Welcome along to our big match preview and backed by Ladbrokes for the season. Remember to go ahead and check out Ladbrokes Odds Boost, available on the website and the apps to instantly increase your odds. Sign up with the link in the description to get involved. T's and C's apply. Saints back at St Mary's with a visit of Huddersfield on Saturday. We're all here. Nick and Clive's here with me to look ahead to the game. Halfway stage, gentlemen. Never at the beginning of the season would we have thought in December, Huddersfield at home. It's a critical game for Saints. Must win, at the very least. Nick, you first.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's the pivotal moment of the season, I think. If we win it, we push on and upwards. If we lose it, as you say, we're looking over our shoulders, and it spells big trouble for the manager. There's something wrong at St Mary's at the moment in the squad, and there seems to be infighting in the dressing room. Interesting to see what names come out of the hat for Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, Clive, historically, Saints in the 90s were relegation sort of fighters, if you like, but seems to come up with the Premier League. We've expected for us to mainstay in the top half.
Well, let's get real. This right now, this is pretty much a relegation six-pointer. Yeah, like you say, Freddie, we wouldn't have been thinking we'd say that at the start of the season, but that's the reality of the situation. With the fixtures coming up, it's hard to see where Saints are going to pick the points up on the road. Very difficult games at Tottenham and Man United. Then Palace, who are rapidly improving at home. So it's really tough time for Saints. It's a must-win game on Saturday. Of course, it's a must-not lose as well. And I think that's the problem with the Premier League, that below 7th, 8th place, everybody plays with fear. And that is the problem with us having dropped so many games where we probably ended up drawing. We should have won at least 3 or 4 of those games. And now we're in a situation where this is a must-win game. And I think the fans can play a part. I think we're obviously very disappointed, but there comes a time when you have to sort of knuckle down and accept the situation and really, really get behind them, like West Ham have done. I think West Ham have had a terrible time in that new ground, but all of a sudden they found their voices and the team's found their spirit, and it's exactly what we need to do. Yeah,
and as you mentioned, we've had some of these games where we should have won. I mean, let's look at the stats then, shall we? Currently 18 games played, 18 points, 17 goals scored. Sounds like a familiar tune from last season. On average, fewer than 1 goal per game. Fans increasingly frustrated by the so-called lack of progress this season. We've seen rotation, as Nick has mentioned, every week. I think it's worrying that Pellegrino probably still doesn't know his best 11. Which players, Nick, do you think should come out of the hat against Huddersfield for his best 11 on Saturday?
Well, just before I get on to that, I just want to pick up on a point on what Clive says in the fact that West Ham have had a torrid time at the Olympic Stadium or whatever it's called, and suddenly the fans are getting behind them and call their voices. But we've gone in the opposite direction. We've spent now 15 months with a large proportion of our fan base telling everyone that cares to listen how rubbish it is, how this is the worst ever Saints side, how this is the worst time ever to be a Saints fan, when the reality is actually last season, for all its troubles, and there was a lack of entertainment and there were problems, but we still finished 8th, we still got to a cup final, and whatever anyone says, it was still probably the fourth best season in our history. Now, we've just spent too long telling ourselves how bad everything is, and now we've started to believe it, and we're dragging the team down. I mean, yeah, it is going to be a bit of a tough time coming up, but we're still 3 points clear of relegation, even with the worst time ever. And if we'd have held on in whatever it is, 2 out of the last 4 games in injury time and not conceded goals, we'd be 6 points clear of relegation, way up the table and laughing. So what we've got to do firstly is, as supporters on Saturday, get behind the team, stop bemoaning how bad things are, appreciate how good they actually are and the progress we've made, and that sometimes you have to take steps backwards to go forward. The problem is as you say, what team will come out of the manager's head? And I couldn't honestly begin to predict. And when you've got players like Holt on the bench, Van Dijk going on the bench, Lemina on the bench, you've got to, and several others, you've got to ask yourself, this either the manager hasn't got a clue or there's factions in the dressing room that are meaning that he's had to drop the likes of Holt, Lemina and Van Dijk.
Clive, that's worrying. If Nick's right, so the factions are it's almost like the players are kind of, stepping away, wanting to be picked for the weekend.
Yeah, well, I really thought we turned the corner with that Everton game, and then the performances afterwards were quite promising.
Absolutely.
But the Leicester performance has got to go down as one of the worst performances in years, really, and it's destroyed the confidence that the manager was building in the fans. I think it all goes hand in hand, and with the players as well. And
it goes back to the Arsenal game, Clive. You know yourself, at any level, players know when the manager ain't picked the right side. And against Arsenal, there were several baffling decisions, not least the dropping of Hope and the bringing in of Stevens and Yoshida for what are... Now, that baffled people. Leaving Lemina on the bench baffled people. But what really destroyed the side is, as a team, the team run their nuts off to keep it fairly family orientated on this session, and they were left out there by the manager. They battled, got pushed back by Arsenal. They run their legs off, and when they looked at the bench for help, they got nothing. And 15 minutes to go, Charlie Austin had run himself into the ground. We all stood up for a substitution, expecting to applaud Austin off the pitch. And instead, it was a like-for-like change, Redmond for Boufal. We didn't make any other substitution till it was far too late. Stephen Davis was waiting to come on when they scored. And that was it. The manager didn't just make the wrong decisions. He sat on his hands throughout it. And players know that. And that destroyed their confidence, and that showed that something wrong in the dressing room. They were left to hang out by Pellegrino that game.
Whether or not there's something wrong in the dressing room, the performance against Leicester was inexcusable. After performing so really, really, really well against Arsenal, it's just chalk and cheese, and that's the worrying thing looking forward, because we can talk about who should play and who shouldn't play. It's when those guys go out there, what they're going to do. Are they going to play as a team? Because I see teams with far lesser talent than us, and they're together, and they're way above us right now in the Premier League, and that's quite interesting that the old German guy, the Huddersfield guy, what's his name?
Wagner.
Never liked his albums.
No. Anyway, he's the right Wagner, isn't he? Anyway. I think he said on Sunday he was very, very surprised that Southampton only had 18 points from the games at this stage of the season. He thought we were we had some real seriously good players, and I think we do.
We do. We are a good squad, poorly led at the moment.
Yeah, it's just about putting them together. Now, what do you do? Do you stick with this manager? Because it's a real conundrum for the fans, because we don't want to get sucked into a relegation fight, which is very close, Nick. It doesn't matter whether you say it's 3 points away. That's one game. If you're always one game away from relegation, then you've got to be worried. You've got to be worried. And you say things aren't right. So it's a conundrum for the fans. Do you raise the roof like West Ham fans do, or do you keep on moaning? I mean, it's difficult. I understand it. And I really respect the guys that are trying to sing in the ground. Even at the end of that Leicester debacle, there was still 200-300 fans at the back of the Kingsland still giving it some. I don't know I couldn't hear the lads in the Itching whether they were still going, but sometimes
it was a bit hard to hear it when you're just passing the Cobden Bridge, Clive, when at the end.
I stayed.
Do you know, I never thought I'd ever say the phrase, I'll stay to the end to beat the crowds, but I used it against Leicester.
Yeah. Well, but look, the thing is that the fans, I think the guys that do sing need, as much as the team needs backing up, the fans that do sing need backing up from, like the lads in the corner at the Itching stand. They're brilliant. But why don't the rest of the stand sing?
We've lost our way, Clive. Clive.
No, hang on, let me talk a minute, Nick, because you keep interrupting.
I thought you'd stop then.
Shut up, you bloody look. Listen, the lads in the Itching sing really, really well. The little group up the top there. Why doesn't the rest of the stand join in? You know, to back them up. That's where the away fans are. Have we got no pride? If we haven't got pride in our team, well, why are you there, really, guys?
I agree with you, Clive. To finish it, I totally agree with you. 20-odd years ago, when we were relegation fighters in the 90s, we had pride in. We didn't like who ran the club. We didn't like at times who managed the team. But we had pride in the team and we had pride in the club. And we stayed behind the team. You remember that 93-94 season when we were in real big, deep trouble. We concentrated on protesting before and after games and turning that energy into supporting the team, and it worked. But now we've just spent 15 months telling ourselves we're crap, and too many people believe it now.
I don't think we're unique, and football has changed all round. It's not like Southampton are all the only moaners in the world, because they're everywhere.
No, it is.
I think the trouble is that there are so many people who go to that ground and it's a hobby for them. And when their little hobby isn't winning every week, then they start moaning. It's not the passion that there was in the 90s, for sure. I recently met Jason Dodd, and my God, what a breath of fresh air. And it reminded me just what a strong team spirit we used to have in that team. It didn't have fantastic. All right, we had the odd fantastic player like Latiz, but it was because we were a team that we survived. And that's what this team has got to get. They've got to get it together as a team. If they don't, if they keep feeling sorry for themselves, they're internationals. Yeah. They're a good string of players. If they keep feeling sorry for themselves, we will continue on this wishy-washy, blimmin' middle to the bottom of the table position, and we will get sucked in. So it's up to the fans and it's up to the players.
Although, Clive, what you've got to remember is, if you remember what one of your big heroes, Mick Shannon, once said to Ted Bates during a halftime roasting, he said, "What you got to remember, boss, this is only my hobby."
Yeah, well. But that man could play. And he did play.
Exactly. I mean, we know he could play, and that's a fact. That is a fact. I mean, yeah, I totally agree with everything you've said. You know, we've got to get pride. We've got to get back in. But leadership comes from the manager, and we don't appear to get to be lead. Either he is fighting a little bit of a battle of minds against certain players, which he's trying to win, hence the stupid team selections of late, or he's clueless, or a combination of both.
In the modern game, unfortunately, this is what we're talking about now. Every foreign coach rotates. It's about getting the balance right. But I don't agree with it. But clearly, he's not getting it right at the moment. When you get a guy like Højbjerg, who's come in and had 2 man-of-the-match performances, giving it everything, looked the part, he's on the bench. Yeah. What is going on?
Similarly, you don't drop a player like Hope after several decent performances and put in Yoshida or Jack Stevens and say it's tactical. You wouldn't see Barcelona dropping Messi for a reserve team player and saying it's tactical.
No, I agree.
When things are tough, play your best team and play your best players.
I play my best team every week.
Yeah. Well, you have got to rotate sometimes, and you've got to make tactical changes. But at the end of the day, what annoyed me about Pellegrino is there's something going on. You don't drop Hope and put in your third and fourth choice centre players, especially one that hasn't played for 3 months and hasn't even been in your game plan thoughts. You don't do that.
The most disappointing thing is that, as I said to Freddie before, that the young guys that have come in, you know, when we've had our little upsurge of form, have actually given the team a bit of energy. And now it appears that energy has just been completely wiped away. Obviously, look, who was expecting much from Chelsea? Even if we were on a run of good form, we weren't expecting much. So it was a battling performance. It was a disciplined defensive performance. We did our best. They didn't create masses of chances like they have done against many teams. So it wasn't the worst in the world. What we've got to hope for against Huddersfield is a good start. We need that good start in the game. We need to get an early goal and get the confidence back. because doesn't matter what you say about 3 points clear, Nick, this is a massive game.
If Huddersfield somehow do win on Saturday, it opens up a bit of daylight between us and them, and huge pressure will mount on Pellegrino. I mean, if it does happen, if there's no points to take away from Saturday, what is next for Pellegrino?
Very difficult to see where he can go forward. The main thing is what this one game. I want to concentrate on this game. It is really tough. It's really tough because you unfortunately you have to think like we are veterans of relegation fights, and you have to eke every single point you possibly can out from your rivals. The one thing you don't do is lose to them. And
to consider, obviously, the games coming up after that. Let's be fair, we're not expecting anything from Tottenham away, Man United away. Huge pressure. I mean, after that, we've got Crystal Palace at home, followed by Watford away. Teams around us that we need to pick up.
Well, I mean, the Tottenham game, as you say, it's a free hit in some respects. Although I will say that every Christmas, I ask for Christmas that Saints get to Wembley in the second half of the season, and it doesn't usually come the next day. So, or at all, to be perfectly honest. But they're winnable games are... Or they're drawable games, I should say. And that's what we got to do. Try and pick up the odd point or two against Tottenham. Or 1 point from Tottenham and Man United would be a good return if we've beaten Huddersfield.
Somewhere along the line, we need a result against one of these big guns. Because we failed against the lesser teams in the league, we do need a result somewhere along the lines. You've got to think as well, it's so vital because a big win against Huddersfield would damage their confidence. They're having a go. Fair play to them. They haven't got the resources and the players that we've got, and nor have Brighton. But Brighton is sticking with it, or they're going to get the odd Tonkin along the way. But we really have got to buck our ideas up because otherwise it's not looking good for the second half of the season. Well, a few results can turn it around. You get one good week and you could be sitting back in...
Well, look at Everton. Look at Everton.
Yeah, but where's that coming from, Nick? Where's that good week coming from? That's the problem.
Unfortunately, when you say look at Everton, look at Crystal Palace. They're teams that have, they were in worse positions than us a few weeks ago, 5-6 weeks ago, and where they're suddenly up now. So what's the difference? And unfortunately, the answer is the difference is they got a new manager in. So... The difference is they weren't bad squads, Everton or Palace, and they were in worse form than we and in a worse position than we were 6 weeks ago. So, unfortunately, that's telling us something, and that's not good. If you one thing I don't want to rely on is the transfer window because you've got to get a players, whichever you want to say, and they've got to settle, and sometimes that takes 2 months. So the guys that are there now have got to do it. They've got to take responsibility and do it. And all I can say to the fans is, look, the guys who've been singing, they've been brilliant. Cannot the rest of the ground just get on the same song sheet, because we need everybody now. Chapel, doesn't matter where it is, executive boxes, get off your asses, give the team your best shout, because we're in a relegation fight. You might say all doom and gloom, but I think that's the reality of the situation.
And you've mentioned obviously Huddersfield squads there. I mean, they don't have the resources. They will be stretched on Saturday. They've got a couple of omissions of their own, a couple of suspensions. Mayor Yoshida's come out this week to the Echo and said that he's urged his teammates to avoid bringing any negativity to the camp. Do we have more reasons to be positive, or should we have more reasons to be worried? That's
a very strange thing to say. He's urged his teammates to avoid bringing negativity to the camp. That's suggesting there's something not right in the dressing room. That is a real funny choice of words, which may have got lost in translation.
Please tell me, because I need to know whether this is actually true or not, whether Pellegrino has advised the board to keep hold of Van Dijk in the transfer window, that as was quoted in one of the papers today. I mean, if that's the case, that's, again, something very strange, having just dropped him against Chelsea. Really,
well, I read the report.
Can of worms, but...
The report, basically, Clive, was Pellegrino was asked about Van Dijk, and he said, in sort of general terms, you want to keep your best players. I've urged, it's not my choice whether he goes, but I've urged the board that we should be keeping our best players. And that's standard managerial.
I guess that's all we can say, but
bat
you
it with a straight bat, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, once again, you can speculate as much as you like. All that matters right now is what happens on Saturday.
And a result on Saturday will obviously give us a bit of positivity to take to the new year. I mean, let's try and wrap it up then. It's become a bit of an extended rant cast.
That is what we need. If we're going to ask the fans to get and sing and be passionate, we should be passionate. We should be doing rant casts or whatever, rather than just going, yeah. Leave it to Gary Neville on Sky Sports to give it the crap and move things around the screen. We've got to be passionate as well. It's what we want ranting. If we ain't ranting, and we're supposedly, me and Clive, for instance, have been long-term supporters, if we ain't ranting and we've lost the passion for it, how can we expect these, fans of 5 years standing to get up and start singing? Let's have a bit of passion and rant about it. At least we care. Well said, Nick.
But I need to ask you for your score prediction. I might be able to predict what you're going to say.
17-1 to Saints. No, I think we're going to go out and come out with all guns blazing. I think we're going to win 5-1.
Love it. Clive?
I hope we're just going to win. I hope we're just going to win, and that the fans are going to get up for it and give it some, let's think like the days back in the Championship, back in League One. There is something to fight for, and that is avoiding relegation. To fight, that's real. That's the real fact of the matter right now. So give it your best, lads.
Excellent stuff then, gentlemen. And you guys at home, answer me this. What should happen next if Pellegrino fails to win against Huddersfield? Let us know if you've enjoyed this extended edition of our preview, a bit of a rant cast. Leave us your likes, your comments, and subscribe for more.